is Life Lessons, the Gintama Manga Cast, episode 40. My third time recording this stupid thing. I'm your host, Colton, and with me today is my special guest, reoccurring guest, Mr. Josh Dunham. How you doing, buddy?
It's not Josh, it's Katsura.
Oh, shit, sorry. You wanna do another take?
Wow, you've already tried 3 times, so let's just go with Josh.
Yeah, so by the way, I'm sorry this episode is so late, guys. I have literally that's not an exaggeration. I have tried 3 separate occasions trying to fucking record this episode.
Whoa, language, man. This ain't the manga corner.
Yeah, it's not the manga corner. That's why I can say fuck as many times as I want and not feel bad about it, because Gintama is not a kids show or a kids manga, even though it runs in Shonen Jump. I still don't know how that works.
Devilman. That's all I'm gonna say.
Did Devilman run in Jump?
I'm pretty sure Devilman ran in Jump.
I mean, I know Go Nagai had stuff in Jump, but I don't think Devilman ran in Jump.
Yeah, no, it was in Weekly Shonen Magazine, not Weekly Shonen Jump.
Yeah, that always confuses me too. But enough about Devilman. So, on today's episode of Life Lessons, where we cover the Gintama manga as released by Viz Media not so long ago, we are going to be covering Chapter 55 of the manga, and we're going to be also talking about Lesson 55 in the Life Lessons segment. Ramen shops with long menus never do well. And then we have our anime manga comparison segment of episode 39 of the anime, and that's going to be about it. But I'm sure this episode's going to be like 3 hours long because I have Josh on, and I'm sorry, that sounded so mean, but I was going to say with the both of us on, it's going to be pretty long because neither of us like to shut up. So, yeah, Josh, how are you doing, buddy? How's things?
Things are going.
They're going. Okay, that's good.
The anime world never stands still.
And that's it. No, but yeah, there's not really much Oh, you know what? Actually, I just remembered. I should probably talk about Madao-kan, even though it's not really my event per se. But I do have some updates on that. First off, just in case none of you remember, or you know. My rule is it's always somebody's first podcast, so you never know. But Madao-kan was a special little virtual Gintama fan run convention thing on live stream, I believe, that our good podcast friends Doctor and Foxy from the Just a Gintama podcast attempted last year to just with some success. I mean, they're doing it again, so I'm assuming people want it. So basically. That's happening again, and they have extended their deadline for panel submissions if you would like to send one in. I believe the submission deadline for that is Thanksgiving Day. I know I should probably give a specific date for that and not be so vague. I'm also stalling while I go to the Twitter account and find out the tweet. Okay, and here we go. Thanksgiving weekend being November 29th. So if you want to submit a panel, please send it over. I should really have all this information on me, but go listen to Just a Gintama podcast. You can listen to all the details on whatever episode that is. I am so good at this. I'll leave links to all of the necessary information for panel submission in the show notes, so don't worry about that and my horrible, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Guys, I suck. That's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, so that's a thing. Go submit something to Madao-kan. I might have a panel or something. Oh, you know, I should also mention, Madao-kan looks like is going to take place on the weekend of December 19th. So, mark your calendars, because I might actually be doing a thing for the panel. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And it may or may not be the same thing that I did last year, because unlike everybody else in the Gintama fan community, I am not as creative, and can't do things like play Gintama music on an ocarina, so, you know, there's that. Oh yeah, also, I was on Just a Gintama podcast for 2 episodes. That was cool. Hopefully those will both be out by the time this is out, hopefully. It's funny, I've spent so much time recording other Gintama podcasts other than my own. I find that extremely hilarious. But I think other than that, there's not really much else in news I want to talk about. other than, I mean, it's slightly Gintama related, but I just thought I'd let people know that Shinji Takamatsu, the guy who basically directed the first 100 episodes of Gintama, is apparently going to be directing a new anime. And it's going to be a prison comedy anime, apparently, I guess. I don't know anything about this property that he's going to be directing other than there's a manga for it, and it looks kind of cool, I guess. I'm only watching it because Shinji Takamatsu has directed a lot of funny stuff. He also kind of directed Gundam Wing for all you Toonami guys out there.
Well, that was the funniest one. I can't meet anyone who's watched Gundam Wing and doesn't think it's funny.
Oh, I'm sure, Josh. But yeah, so that's a thing. I should probably tell people what the name of the fucking anime is. It's apparently called Non-Baka. Which I don't know if that
fuck Baka.
Yes, Non-Fuck Baka.
You know, this one could be a sequel to Gundam Wing.
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, makes sense. Yeah, Takamatsu's directing a new anime. Just go watch it whenever it eventually hits Crunchyroll, because I'm like 99% sure that it doesn't matter what this is, Crunchyroll's probably going to get it, because that's just the kind of world we live in now, where we can actually watch our anime as it airs weekly, and we don't have to buy fan sub VHS tapes. I wasn't even alive for that, so yeah.
You're making references that you weren't even present for.
Yeah, well, I hear a bunch of other people talk about it, and that's the only reason I know they exist. So, alright, so I guess enough doing things. Let's get on to the manga. You know, the whole reason everybody probably listens to this.
I listen to it for the bleach.
This is the manga recap for Chapter 55, Ramen shops with long menus never do well. And please start us off, Josh. What's going on here on the first page?
Okay, so the first page, first off, I want to say, overall with the chapters, I was kind of really, really impressed. Typically, when I get invited to be on the show, I watch the anime first and then go read the chapter. And I had an idea, well, wait a second. Isn't that kind of the backwards way of doing things? Shouldn't I be reading the chapter first and then getting the sound and moving elements added in later? It doesn't make sense to kind of go back to the original after it's already been modified. I mean, not to diminish the manga. And let me say I'm really glad I did that, because there were some changes. There were some really cool things that were exclusive to the manga. And, well, without further ado, I guess we'll get right into that. So first it starts off with Okita. We're here. And he's got both hands up. He's looking his typical shonen eye fashion. Makes your heart melt, but at the same time he's reaching for like a blade or something. Even though both hands are on the panel, this is Gintama. Never let your guard down. He's pulling over in the next panel. We get a kind of an establishing shot, which is to be fair, kind of incomplete, but it suits its purposes. I mean, if you notice kind of going down into the background, it kind of just disappears, like there are two people on the streets. Now, granted, it's supposed to be in the middle of the night, whatever. Kind of disappointed in terms of the background of this picture or this particular panel. But that aside, Josh is getting off onto details. There's a guy on a bike, and they're like, hey, you're supposed to have a lantern, like bicycle regulations, which, obviously is something prevalent in only modern Japan, not in the age of samurai. So they're pulling him over on a technicality, essentially, is the idea. And I really like the line, got any girly magazines? I love how Viz refers to, porn.
Yeah.
Girly magazine. So, do you have any, 17 magazine? Because that, to me, you say girly magazine, I'm thinking of, a preteen cosmetic. And no, Gintama is not interested in preteen cosmetics. Unless, of course, cosmetics refers to visuals, in which case, porn mags.
Or they're not interested in Cosmo's 15 ways on how to pleasure your man or something. I don't read magazines like that.
Well, that's not true. I can totally see Sa-chan with that magazine.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
You know, I can totally see like 15 ways you've been misusing your rope. Like that I could totally see, but like I just think it's, you know, anyway. So as he's getting pulled over, nameless Shinsengumi, who doesn't even have buttons on his coat, we'll call him Shinsengumi B, whatever.
Sure, why not?
Sure, because he's definitely not A. Ogita in this case is A. He is A, macho, number one, best. Anyway, in the next panel...
I'm sorry, you were saying macho and complimenting him. If Jasmine were on right now, she would love you.
Well, it's not that I enjoy his character any more than anyone else's in particular. But I'm just saying, you know, right now he's the boss. So,
okay,
you know,
I see.
I gotta clarify. I'm not really a fanboy when it comes to Ogita because, like, I don't the whole not suicide. I keep wanting to say suicidal.
No, that was a joke we made off mic.
That was, gosh damn it. The point, you know, of being this homicidal, not suicidal, opposite.
Yeah.
You know, the opposite of killing oneself is killing others. Being homicidal maniac is just, that's not really comedy to me. I mean, there are cases when it can be funny, but I've never been entertained by that. So his character is kind of not dead to me. I mean, it's still a pretty boy who can crack pretty boy jokes and, you know, ridiculously like what we're about to see. But right as
Well, I was gonna say, one, I understand, Josh, you're more of a Hijikata fan. Everyone else is. That's what you're trying to say, right? Yes, okay, moving on. Second,
well, Hijikata is just like, here's like, I couldn't put Gintoki in this position as I wanted to originally in this manga. So I'm gonna make a guy who looks like Gintoki, who acts like Gintoki, who is essentially Gintoki without being Gintoki.
You're right.
I'm oversimplifying it, and I know later in the manga they get their own. You know, he gets his distinct character. Like, but here's the whole thing. Like, my opinion. You want my honest opinion, and I could be wrong. You know, from where I stand, the whole mayonnaise thing is like that's added in specifically to try and say, oh, see how different he is from Gintoki. Like Gintoki likes sweets. Who likes mayonnaise?
Me and Jay have talked about this on the podcast before when we did an entire episode about Hijikata because we love him so much. I don't know what that says about us, but the thing is, yeah, we've talked about earlier on in the podcast how if Hijikata didn't have that mayonnaise quirk, he'd just be the tip. He'd basically be Zoro, technically, which is funny because they're both voiced by Kazuya Nakai. But I was gonna say, give it some time. I think I told you off mic that their relationship will get a little more interesting later. But anyway, please continue with this page. We're still on the first page.
We're still on the first page, folks. Deep analysis here. So Shinsengumi guy B is like, hey, you know, the reason we're pulling you over is really, you know, not that has anything to do with you. We're looking for the panty thief. As, you know, there must be like 10,000 in Gintama because every other arc I turn around, there's a panty thief. So,
well, yeah, that's something I kind of like. There's a little continuity there because what chapter was it? I believe it was chapter 19.
Well, I was on that one of those episodes, wasn't I? Where there was
not about the panty thief, no,
but there was like in the newspaper on one of the episodes they had like, oh, the panty thief strikes again, and like a Lupin reference says he's running away and stuff. Like,
you know, I think so. I don't remember. That sounds right.
I can't remember. See, Twitter and podcasting kind of blends together, so I can't remember everything I've said.
No, no. That was Twitter.
That was Twitter.
You tweeted about that. I remember.
Okay. Yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Anyway.
But yeah, no, that's a little nice bit of continuity there. I appreciate that.
No, I think it's really cool, especially when they're using it now. The out joke is now the in joke.
Yeah.
And then, you know, obviously, spoilers, it's Katsura. Like, we can kind of tell by the hat and then the white cloak and stuff. You know, obviously it's Katsura.
Man, I never would have been able to tell.
Who is that? It's Ichigo. Essentially, you know, the guy, you know, they're pulling over. Katsura is like, no, I'm sorry, I'm a briefs man. Later, Katsura is driving away, and he actually does have a lantern on his bike. So, not sure what that was about.
It's racial profiling, obviously.
Yeah, they don't like Katsuras.
Yeah, I mean, who does? I mean, all these Katsuras coming over to Japan, taking our jobs. I mean, fuck the Amanto. what are we gonna do about all the Katsuras?
Yeah, man. Like these people are getting in, no education. They bring drugs. They're all rapists. So
All those Zurajinai Katsura does, like, speak English, motherfucker.
yeah, this is freaking Japan.
Yeah, this is Japan. You gotta speak English.
2015, people. 2015. As he's driving away, they're like, "Oh, he's getting away!" And so Okita, being not the suicidal but the homicidal man he is, pulls out a bazooka and decides to shoot him, and that catches Katsura's attention. And we get this cool panel where Okita is off, he's off center just enough to to one side. But the I don't know. I really like the panel layout. It's very kinetic because it's not flat. It's angular. The only thing that is flat is that first page, which establishes that Katsura is driving on his bike, the yelling of Shinsengumi Guy B, and then the shooting of the bazooka to Katsura noticing it, all angular, very, I mean, the drawing itself is at an angle, and then, of course, the cut of the panel is also at an angle. So there's that. I kind of like the aesthetic of that. But here's the thing. Out of this entire chapter, I was really, really, really impressed with how they handled the next page. Page 3, I asked Colton specifically if I could go first just to talk about this page. And I could sit here and talk about it. We have things in comics that are aspect to aspect, or you can do action to action. In comic books, you're more likely to get something like action to action, which is I throw a punch, the next panel is me throwing the opposite punch, left, right, or dodge, or, it's action goal oriented. Mm-hmm. Whereas when we go to, let's go back actually just one page to page 2. What do we have? The first one we see is Katsura on his bike. So that's an aspect. There's not action happening. I mean, he is riding on his bike. We understand he's in motion because otherwise the bike would fall over. Then it kind of
transitions.
Transitions, thank you. Transitions into an action, which we have the Shinsengumi Guy B yelling, transition into action with the firing of the bazooka, and then we have reaction, which I guess you could you can translate as both a transition into action and aspect, because it's a realization. At what time does that occur? What time does he realize that the bazooka is being fired? Well, is it too late? Is it not too late? Well, the next panel sheds light on that. And here's when we kind of blur the lines between action and aspect transitions. Now, very clearly on the first page, we see the bazooka, or the ammunition from the bazooka. I don't know what you call the technical term, the rocket, I don't know, the bomb. It comes and it hits the bike. We don't see Zura, or Katsura, for all you hardcore otaku. We don't see Zura, but what we do see is, the explosion. Boom. Okay, that's an action. But then the next page, it's kind of more of an aspect. I think I would treat this more as an aspect-to-aspect transition, and here's why. We get 3 different separate angles. Even though Okita is slowly closing the distance, we are getting new information. So the first page is boom, an explosion. First panel, boom, an explosion. Second is Okita. Okita is now introduced into the explosion. How much time has elapsed? Well, it's hard to say, and I'm not saying we need to pinpoint the time, but that's what kind of separates aspect to aspect and action to action. Action is like, there's obviously, you can kind of tell the amount of time, you can guesstimate it. Where aspect to aspect, you kind of abandon time to explore the moment. And so what we're kind of doing is exploring that moment of the explosion of the bike wreckage. I mean, you could kind of technically look at it and say, well, the wheel in the first panel flies up, and in the second panel we see it's kind of landing on the ground, and then on that third panel it obviously has settled to some degree. So there is a passage of time, do not get me wrong, but the explosion is still more or less ongoing, which hints to a kind of stasis in time. And that's why I really appreciated this, is because it perfectly blends those two. Now there are other types of transitions, don't get me wrong, but I really enjoyed this one because of that third panel when we see Zura's foot on top of the roof. And this is something that we didn't get in the anime. I know I'm kind of jumping the gun here. I'm sorry, Colton. But we didn't get that. And this is like one of the moments when manga triumphs over anime. Anime, it's always going to be timed because you have to show you don't have to show the story linear, but it is 20 minutes. You know, you can't show something 3 times at the exact same time and expect everybody to catch all the information at the same time. You have to show things sequentially for the most part. Now, there are always exceptions to the rule, but in manga, you don't. I can look at the entire page if I hold it back and see the entire thing all at once. The only thing that dictates I see it in this order is that habit. But the thing is, if you look, it takes up a very nice square on the top of the page. And so basically you just enveloped in that explosion. Now I know I'm kind of talking about this at length, but I was super impressed reading this at, the midnight hour of whatever. I don't remember. It's really, really late. But I'm reading this and I was like, I had to stop and look at that. And it's like, it's not, berserk levels of art. It's not like Yusuke Murata came out of nowhere and said, oh, I'm going to do, but the transitioning was really made the magic. And then, of course, the last half of that page is we see Zuda walking away. The sense of space is really, really good. Then there's a realization. He sees his foot. It's bleeding. And then he just kind of, his face goes from one reaction of, pain, of a little bit of shock. We see what's wrong. And then we realize, there's a mental realization. It's not like Zuda has to then say, oh my gosh, they can track blood. Oh my gosh, I can't get far. It doesn't have to go through the bucket list of everything. And this is why visuals work, because they can tell the story. And those 3 panels at the very end do the same thing. I'm in love with this page because not a single panel is wasted. We get the explosion, beautiful. We get an establishing shot of where Zuda actually is because he's not in the wreckage, beautiful. And in fact, wreckage. I do English. You're starting to rub off on me.
Oh, okay, thanks.
And yeah, I blame you. I'm sorry. But we get a beautiful establishing shot of the cityscape, and then, but that doesn't matter. Explosion, we get that. Establishment, we know where we are. Now we can focus on Katsura. And that's what I mean. Like, I know I'm overanalyzing this, but this page, you have to stop and think about this. Like, some dude spent, maybe an hour working on this. I mean, maybe not as much time, but I appreciated it as a piece of art. Like, the other 2 pages before aren't nearly as strong. They're very mundane, And then we get this 3rd page, which is the best page in the manga, besides a future character who I'm absolutely in love with, who Colton, I guess, can take it from here. I'm sorry.
I guess. I mean, I am the host of this podcast, I think, but you never know. Yeah, thank you, Josh, for going over those first 3 pages in at least 40 minutes. Like, I expected no less.
In record time?
In record time, yes. We still, how many pages do we have? I think we have about 16 more to go.
Oh, I thought there's I thought I only had to talk about those 3.
Oh, yeah, because, this is where the chapter ends. I mean, Katsura's injured. How else can the story go on?
It doesn't go on. That's the end of Gintama.
Oh, you're right. Oh, wait, shit. I'm sorry. Except I just said that we had like 16 more pages to go. So.
Retcon it next chapter.
Okay, so I don't know how I'm supposed to follow that up. Thanks, Josh. But as we see on the next page, Katsura obviously being wounded from, I guess, Okita's bazooka. I don't know how he got injured. He probably fell on it wrong or something.
Well, he was riding his bike, so that's entirely possible.
Well, that's true, yes. And
without a helmet.
I'm not sure how many... I'm going to sound super condescending, and I'm sorry, but I'm not sure how many people would actually notice this little detail, but I like the little flashes of light in the background. If you couldn't already tell by the wee-oo sound effects, how the Shinsengumi are still obviously after Katsura. I like that little detail there. I appreciate it. Simple but nice. He's walking on roofs and buildings, still injured, wondering what his next move is. He's not exactly very optimistic. He thinks he feels like it might all be over. Shinsengumi are obviously going to catch him sooner or later. He's kind of feeling up the walls, trying to, make sure that he doesn't fall on his injured foot. And, he doesn't exactly look where he's touching. He has a bra now for some reason. He's staring at a pretty girl in a nice, pretty flower kimono. It's kind of awkward. And what do? You do an important sounding voice and come up with some kind of weird excuse. and then she throws throws her laundry basket at him.
Yeah, she was doing his laundry. It's like, I'm checking to see if I'm checking to see if that's not quite an important. I'm checking to see if this is dry.
I'm checking to see if it's dry.
There we go. There we go.
Which, by the way, again, I wish I had the original tankobon on me, the original Japanese release or what have you, but I don't know. Like, I'm assuming it's not an anime only thing, because in the anime, he literally does an impression of Santa Claus, and I think that's in the scans as well. So I don't know. It's kind of weird.
So here's the thing: is like, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. What were we going to say?
Well, like in the anime, I felt like they went the opposite notion of whatever the Viz translation was. Like they said, important sounding voice, and like, okay, like
they have stuff like that in parentheses in the scans too. I've seen that in other manga too. I'm not sure where that comes from. I don't know. Like, have you ever noticed, like, you'll be reading manga and there'll be some, like, key word in, like, parentheses or something? Like, it's really weird. I've seen that in other manga, too.
I think that's the wrong way to do it. I think they need to do it with font. I think font will dictate how somebody reads it, because font itself
That's true.
Is an image if it's used properly. But in the anime, they completely did this differently, and I'm glad they did. But
and that's why I'm saying, like, I'm pretty sure they kept it that way. The scans are like that too, so I can only assume that was the original dialogue in the manga. Which again, I'm sure I could be wrong, but I'm like 99% on that. But anyway, that's not important. So that happens, and apparently Elizabeth is looking for Katsura. He's got a wig on.
Elizabeth. We don't know what Elizabeth is.
You don't know.
Oh, well, that's true. It's just me.
Well, whatever. It's interchangeable as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, so
all the Elizabeths in your office, in your audience,
in my office.
Yes, in your office. Shit, I just got off work. Leave me alone.
So yeah, Elizabeth, not Katsura. Oops. Is wearing a Katsura wig and is holding up a sign pointing to him saying, "Have you seen someone like this?" And, you know, a bunch of people are walking by. One of them's like, "Oh, dream on, man. I don't know anything about that." I don't know.
I thought there was an Aerosmith concert going on below, but
maybe, I don't know. I guess Aerosmith exists in feudal Japan. But
but the aliens brought them.
Probably. The aliens brought rock and roll. But no, yeah, so we cut to Katsura, you know, with the woman in question. She's handing him some food to eat. And, basically she's like, "Oh, well, can you blame me for hitting you earlier? I mean, there is a panty thief on the loose. I mean, you were kind of in the wrong place at the wrong time there, buddy." And, so yeah, she's just basically telling him off. And, she's like, "Okay, well, you know what? Here's some ramen, to make up for it. I'm sorry." And what's going on in the next 2 pages there, Josh? Sorry, I keep calling you John. My fault.
You want to take that line one more time, or?
No, I don't know. There are no second takes here, Josh.
Oh, okay.
I am not as professional as I am on the Manga Corner.
Wait a second. Wait, I'm missing the obvious joke here.
What's the obvious joke?
It's a Shingeki no Kyojin joke. It's John Janai, Joshu desu.
God, Josh, please just go on.
It's the most weeaboo thing I've ever said, ever. And I'm proud of it. Fucking proud. So what happens in the next panel, or this next page? Well, I fell in love. That's what happened. I fell in love. One, I'm kind of a sucker for pretty girls. And then on top of it, I kind of like ponytails. Like Senjo Gahara, when she has her ponytail, I fall in love. When Chitoge has hers, I fall in love. When Botan has hers, I fall in love. We find her name is Ikumatsu. And we find her in a ponytail. And I was like, oh, good Lord. My heart. I fell in love, dude. Like, she is so pretty. She is so pretty. And, like, when we get to the anime, Anyway, she's super pretty. And she runs her own shop. She's an independent woman. She's awesome. Oh, man. I'm love struck. Anyway, Katsura.
You are making everybody who loves Ikumatsu very happy right
Oh,
now.
I am in love with Ikumatsu. Like it, you know. So I can go on about that one panel forever. Like she's awesome. Like she's awesome. But there are other panels with her in it, and so we must move on. So Katsura says, I like soba, and she's like, well, okay. Makes me feel like crap because I gave you free food, and now you're trying to tell me that I should have given you soba. She asks him what he's doing on the roof, and I don't know if now's the right time to mention those tweets. I don't know. But anyway, long story short, it's a historical reference. And I think it's kind of funny. I actually found the translation, at least in the anime, to be pretty close to the Viz translation, so I assume it's pretty good.
Yeah. The in some episodes of the earlier anime on Crunchyroll, it feels like sometimes they just kind of rip lines from the Viz translation almost.
No. No. You're trying to tell me that people didn't do their job? Like, come on, this is Gintama. Everyone works hard on Gintama, especially Sorachi.
Josh, if your snark were a dagger, it would stab me in the heart. I don't know. That didn't make any sense. Josh, please just go on.
Okay, so dagger stabbing aside, Okita's not in this panel, but we do get a nice panel again of Ikumatsu and then Katsura. And so she accuses him of being a panty thief. Things go on. He's like, no, I'm just kind of hiding out from the weather. Of course, the weather.
No. Hold on. You are not skipping over this great line.
I'm not. I'm going right to that line.
No. You missed the line where Ikumatsu's like, oh, what are you doing on the roof? And Katsura literally says, oh, I took a wrong turn.
Oh.
And Ikumatsu, yeah.
Yeah, and then we'll finish it off.
Okay, I guess it's my page now. And yeah, it's basically Ikumatsu's like, well, I know. And Ikumatsu's like, well, where were you trying to go? And Katsura's like, no, I didn't mean it like that. I took a wrong turn in life.
This is true. Yeah, that I shouldn't have brushed over that. Yeah, that's kind of so. At first, I thought it was like a pun, like Katsura and Kaguya like does that is like a pun or something like that. Because Princess Kaguya, she goes back to the moon, right? So I was like, oh, is that
okay?
Is that a
makes sense?
But I don't think it is. Maybe that's
probably not. No,
that's me analyzing things that don't exist. So.
But no, yeah, sorry, that's a really funny line. But
it is. It's like, what are you trying to go to the moon? It's kind of like anyone who's seen League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. If you have, I'm sorry. If you haven't, watch it for just one line. Essentially, when they're going down these stairs, and they're like, "Where are we going? Australia?" So it was kind of funny. They're in England walking down, they're like, "Oh, we're going to Australia." So Katsura's like, yeah, I'm hiding. The weather, it's bad and stuff. And we get a really cool panel of him looking through the window. And then he's like, I want to quote it, damn, dark clouds, because that was the best line I've seen from both the anime and the manga. Like, I think in the anime it says, like, oh, it's still raining. And she's like, it's not raining. But like, damn, dark clouds. It's so cool because the Shinsengumi are in, a dark getup. But anyway, so basically he's asking if he can stay there. And she's like, well, why? It's not actually raining, as I mentioned. And he tries to profess that he's some sort of ramen connoisseur, that he has come a long way to learn her magical art of ramen. And she's like, oh, that makes sense. The guy who likes soba, which are buckwheat noodles, versus ramen, which I believe are egg-based or something like that.
I think so, yeah.
She's like, it makes perfect sense. That's the equivalent of, a McDonald's employee trying to learn the secret art of Burger King. I mean, like, that's a really poor analogy. But anyway, the manga goes on. And she's essentially like, there's no reason for you to stay here. This is dumb. And then all of a sudden we get a picture of...
Well, actually, I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt you real quick, but there was a thing I kind of noted again, comparing to the anime and scans to the Viz release. It's weird because there's this whole thing where, like, Ikumatsu is, like, slowly... I mean, it comes up a little stronger in the Viz release, where she is slowly, sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Convinced that, Katsura is the panty thief, and that's what she says before our next character comes in. It's weird because, her line in the anime and scans, because Katsura says, oh, well, ramen and soba, they're both the same thing. They're like noodles. And in the anime and scans, which again, I equate to the Japanese release because I don't have anything else to reference to. Again, I could be wrong.
Scanlations are always right.
Yes, always right. Just read One Piece scans.
Well, just remember, they're not for resale.
No, they're not. And if you paid for them, you're a I don't know.
You're a dick truck.
But yeah, so in both the anime and the scans, she says, "Oh, well, I'm really paraphrasing, but oh, what do you think of ramen anyway? They're not the same thing." And I feel like it's weird here because in the Viz release she responds, "You've got to be the panty thief," which again I could be overanalyzing this too. But I feel like that kind of took away from her character a little bit in the way. Do you know what I mean, Josh?
I do, because it kind of reduced her to a little bit of a gag.
Yeah.
Although I did not feel that way, to be fair. But then again, this was my first introduction to the character, so I didn't know what to expect. Like, I'm literally clinging to every panel she's in, studying how, she's being drawn, trying to glean the secret to her heart. For Katsura, of course, not anything of my own device. So... this next panel right after, Katsura kind of turns away. We hear the door open, and we see this face. I thought it was Gorilla Chief. I honestly swear. I was like, oh, it's Gorilla Chief. That makes perfect sense. Shin's and Gumi are in this. And then we get a really cool picture of Ikumatsu. And when I say cool picture, because, I don't know, there's just... The way she's drawn is she's not moe, she's definitely attractive, but I mean, on a serious note, there's and maybe I'm having troubles articulating this, Colton. Maybe you can help me, but she has a air to her where she feels like she is strong. She feels like she is. I'm trying to figure out there's. She feels like honestly, there's more to her. I mean, I now have kind of learned since reading this that is the case, but every time I see her and the way she's drawn, she's sighing. She's got kind of a hand to her head, Not that she can't deal with this, where a lot of female protagonists in a shonen manga would, Sakura, she would react with fear or with some sort of but she's crap, it's these guys. Not that she can't handle it.
Yeah, it's more like, not this shit again.
Kind of like showing up at work. It's it's not that you can't do your job. There's no reason to be fearful, but it's just this is a pain in the ass.
They're a nuisance to her, basically.
And then we find out that it's not Kondo, and I was kind of disappointed, but they call her Big Sis, and I was like, well, you can't do that. That's that's only I can do that. You can't do that. You slime bucket. You're not even using your sleeves right.
Down boy.
Yeah, exactly. Your boner is showing.
I was talking to you actually.
Oh,
but anyway,
is my boner showing?
See, now you're doing the Gintama right. Okay, so we go to the next page, and Ikumatsu, again, like we established, is obviously very annoyed. I'm sure these guys aren't exactly first timers. They've been in the shop before. Just say that. And Ikumatsu doesn't like that one of them calls her Big Sis, and she goes, "Well, don't call me that. Ever since Daigo died, you and I aren't related anymore." So, little backstory on Ikumatsu there, pretty subtle. And obviously, this douchebag is like, "Ah, hey, baby, come on, that's harsh. I'm hurt. I come all the way out here, just to see how my big bro's widow's doing, and you treat me like this. I mean, after all, this did used to be his restaurant. I was supposed to get it when he died, but you wanted it so bad. Maybe I should get a little payback for my generosity." And again, this guy's being a giant douchebag trying to get money from Ikumatsu, and she's not very happy because obviously this has happened on more than one occasion, and she says, "Oh, well, I don't have any more money to give to someone like you." And then Katsura kind of breaks up the action and comes in he's a waiter now, apparently, and he asks, "Oh, may I take your order?" And Ikumatsu's like, "What are you doing? You are not involved. Get out of here." And obviously all the guys are like, "You don't have any money, but you hired a waiter? What's going on here?" And obviously Katsura has to pull at his shtick and goes, "I'm not a waiter. I'm Katsura. Get it right, please." And asks, "Oh, well, will you all be having fried rice then?" And they're all like, "Well, what we didn't we didn't say we wanted fried rice, and oh boy, I have thoughts on the next few bits of dialogue, and one of them's like, we didn't come here to eat anyway, blow. Okay, that's a...
Blow my bowl of rice. You don't make jokes like that in a noodle shop.
I mean, like, okay, you blow, okay, you couldn't have, like, said go away, or let's go, make like a leaf blower and blow, just blow, okay? I just thought that was kind of lame.
But I think it's interesting you mentioned that speech bubble. There is enough space at the bottom for like a 3-letter word that ends with ob.
Yes, there is. And then again, another line I don't know how I feel about. Katsura asks, oh, well, then may I recommend the house special? And the douchebag in question goes, for you, I recommend special ed. Now blow. And, okay. So, okay, now hold on. Cause the first time I recorded this with Jay, she, Jay's, I don't know. I don't even know what I was gonna say. Like, the first time I recorded this and I tried to bring this up with Jay, she was just kinda like, whatever, Colton's just complaining about stuff again. Which I do that a lot.
No one
and I
complains
understand.
about Gintama, Colton. You're the only one.
Oh yes, Gintama is perfect, especially the Viz
Gintama
version.
is like super interesting. I love how the seriousness, comes right in the beginning of the show.
Oh my god, shut up, Josh. But no, I think I even tweeted about this a little while back. I know it, like, it feels weird because that kind of line kind of makes sense for a series like Gintama, but at the same time, it feels really weird to see a line like that. You know what I mean, Josh?
Okay, so here's the problem. And maybe this is my seeing it from where I stand. My understanding is, like, Gintama is like, there are a lot of inappropriate jokes. I mean, dick jokes, if I dare say.
Yeah.
So when you say something like blow, and that's like literally all you say is blow, in a manga full of dick jokes, I'm not thinking about balloons. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I mean, not that it's like, oh, thank you, I was kind of enjoying the penis jokes until you mentioned this one trigger word. I mean, trigger word is kind of harsh, but you get what I'm saying.
I don't care about blow. I just thought that was kind of weird and stupid. But the way you made it sound, it makes sense, I guess, sure.
Well, it's like they could have put get or buzz off.
Yeah, that would have made more sense. I've never had somebody come up to me, like, try to sell me something, and I go, hey, man, why don't you blow? Like, have you ever heard anybody say that?
I've had people come up to me when they're trying to sell something, and then they say to me, blow. Usually it's blow $5. Usually.
And no.
Usually.
And I don't care about that. I don't know. For some reason, I feel weird about special ed jokes in Gintama.
Okay, so I was making it kind of as another dick joke, but if they got rid of blow, and there is enough room for one more word at the bottom of that panel, or the bottom of that bubble, they could have said buzz off. Oh my gosh, why didn't they do that? Like, wait a second. Buzz off. Buzz off. Fuck you is fuck you.
Okay, clearly you and I have like different opinions on different
I'm just saying they could have made it normal. And I agree with you. This is dumb. And like, kind of honestly, like the special ed comment, like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to sit there and say, oh, that's insensitive, because like it's freaking Gintama. But I don't know. I just kind of like, I will agree that dialogue feels forced. But then again, this is from the same translation that, like, if you look at the back, like in the panel just before, look at the little prices. They have rice. Okay. Then they have goza. And like, there's no price for goza. Goza is apparently free. Then they have fried rice. Like, I don't get this.
Yeah, them trying to like replace all the Japanese text
Gintama
with
takes
English
place
text
in America, like Miami. Gintama is Miami.
Just like in Doraemon. I don't even want to talk about the Doraemon localization. Whatever. Yeah, okay, so I spent way too much time on that. Katsura still keeping up with the bit and asks for 3 fried rice dinners, and everybody's like, what's with the fried rice? We're like, what the fuck are you doing? We don't want it. And Katsura says, well, that's only the appetizer. The special includes also a main dish and a dessert. And we just see a big bowl of fried rice, and they're like, "That's a pretty big appetizer." And the douchebag here is like, forget about all that. I need the money. Come on, baby, give it up. And Ikumatsu, not even taking the time to look at this guy, says that, the last time that she gave him money, she said that was it. Like, she obviously doesn't want to give him any more money. She says, "Oh, well, I've been hearing about you. You claim to be rebels or Joey Patriots or whatever, but, I heard you also broke into Mr. Akizato's safe or something." I'm assuming that's just probably a neighbor or something. And then they reply, "Well, it costs money to run a rebellion, bitch." Because, they have to add in the explicitives, but...
This is the official Viz release, huh? Gintama's not for kids, man.
I'm not going to talk about the dialogue anymore because we'll be here all day. So basically they're threatening her, like, "Oh, give us the money so we won't have to steal from you." And she slaps this guy right across the face, and it feels very satisfying. And she goes on this whole thing about how they're not really rebels, they're just a bunch of losers trying to make themselves look good. And the Shinzagumi outside, they're not even looking for you because you guys are chumps. And then what's happening on the next page?
She cries, man. A single tear. It's like, "Oh, you freaking garbage. You guys made my Ikumatsu cry." Like, no.
Oh, she made your waifu cry, Josh?
Oh, no. See, no. Waifu's not the right term. I don't want to put myself on such a pedestal. Ikumatsu is a woman. Like, she's got charms and graces about her, man. She's not a waifu.
Okay, fair enough.
Ikumatsu. She's really pretty, and like in this panel, like the thing is, like, she slaps him without hesitation, and then she tells him as it is, like, "You guys are fucking human trash." I wish they included the F word, because then it's like, "Oh man, Viz, you're awesome." and Katsura's like, "By the way, you forgot, here's the main dish," and it's like, "Wait a second, that's just more rice." And he's like, "Oh no, this one's shrimp flavored, and then for dessert you can get a cold flavored version."
Cold flavored,
yes, because temperature is its own flavor.
This tastes cold. This tastes hot. This tastes just right.
Hey, thank you. That's I was about to go the other way. It's like, this tastes like Celsius. This tastes like Fahrenheit. This tastes 52 degrees. Anyway, lame jokes aside, that was my lame joke. Copyright. Amanto News Radio. So, like, literally right as Katsura is trying to offer them more rice, they get the poop joke in there. And it's like,
"Oh boy, there you go.
My stomach, I can't do it. That's horrible. Oh, gotta get to the bathroom." And then, of course, anyone who's ever had siblings or lived with somebody, when they jump into the bathroom right as you need to go, and you're like, "Oh my Lord, no. And he's like, "I'm in here," and that's it. And they're like, "Oh, this is horrible," because it's a funny way to force them to leave. We got the dramatic backstory of kind of what's going on with these clowns, Ikumatsu, and Katsura maintains his character through comedy, and it still progresses the story. And we get a cool panel of them kind of, one guy's on the floor crawling out the door, the other dude's bent over, and our residential scumbag with the Jesus haircut is, totally, in sweaty panic of how he's going to resolve that. Next panel is nothing but silence. Ikumatsu's there. This is maybe the worst way they, Sorachi drew her, because it's kind of feels like a little bit too much of her face is incomplete, but her face is still perfect no matter how much of it we get. And it's just silence and just a thought. It's just a single thought. I don't know what that thought is. I don't know if she then realizes that Zuda is actually a good guy there for her, that she sees something in him. Maybe it's just reprieve. Maybe she stopped to remember Daigo. I don't know what the case may be, but it's just, that is a headspace moment where we are kind of forced to, where are the speech balloons? What is she thinking? Do it yourself.
That's pretty smart.
I think so too. Like I was sitting there and it's like, what is it? Because you kind of have to ask, manga is churned out so quickly. There are tons of mistakes all the time. But the flip side is also something like this, forgetting speech balloons. It's not really a mistake, especially when you go to the next panel right after that, and it's also a silent panel of Elizabeth. So two silent panels back to back, aspect to aspect transition. Because if she's speaking, that's an action. And when I say she, I'm referring to, well, both, I guess. But when there was, if Ikumatsu were to speak, it'd be an action. But I don't think we need to hear more. The joke has been made. And now we need a kind of a quiet time to internalize that, to take in the drama, kind of like what we're doing right now as we're talking through it. We go to Elizabeth, and then the joke starts up again. You kind of have your highs and your lulls. Elizabeth is sitting there in a box that says, "Please take me home." And one of the kids, kind of, "Can I keep it?" Kind of, no, don't look it in the eyes. And the anime picked up on a really nice joke at that point too. But
yeah, well, we'll get to that when we get to that.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm jumping ahead. I'm sorry. Then we get another aspect transition to the Daigo Ramen front, the front of the store. We get the sign here hanging above the door.
Keep that panel of the Daigo Ramen sign in mind for later.
Oh,
just put that to the side. Just wanna call attention to that. I'll bring it up after the chapter.
Oh, okay. I'm interested now. We get a picture of Katsura, and when I say a picture, because it literally looks like someone's about to take a picture of him, because he's got the Asian peace sign out there. He's 2 pork ramen coming right up. Okay, sounds good. We see 2 old ladies. They kind of turn around to look at Ikumatsu, and they start to say what everyone else is thinking, like, "Hey, are you two gonna? Is this a romantic relationship? Are you guys gonna hook up? Or I mean, what's the case with this?"
Ooh, without a handsome waiter.
Exactly. And I'm sitting there going, "Oh man, never in my life have I wished to be Katsura." Never in my life.
Until this moment. So yeah, we go to the next page, and they just kind of continue their conversation, and they're like, "Oh, we've been saying it's time for you to take an interest in men again. I mean, come on." And Ikumatsu's like, "No, it's not like that. He's just helping out. What's so handsome about him? I mean, look at that hair." Which I've never seen girls talk about Katsura and go, "Look at that hair," in that tone before. Usually it's, "Ooh, look at that hair."
It goes all the way down to his nipples.
So we get to what I'm going to assume is Josh's favorite panel in the entire chapter of Ikumatsu smiling and laughing. No? Okay.
It's actually not. No, it's actually not.
Well, I tried to guess. And Katsura just kind of looks over and I guess has a little mini flashback of, I guess, a conversation they had at a previous time, probably last night. We don't really have any idea in the manga.
Pillow talk.
Anyway. Pillow talk, yes. Ikumatsu just basically kind of spilling the beans here, opening up to Katsura a little bit, saying that her husband was killed by rebels, and that they were going to make this shop the best ramen shop in all of Edo. But then there was a terrorist bombing, and that was it. Which I don't like how vague that is. It's like, oh, there was a terrorist bombing. What happened after that? Oh, that was it. I thought that was kind of weirdly worded, so this is what confuses me. So I don't know. So are we left to assume that Daigo was a rebel terrorist and was maybe involved in the bombing, or was he an innocent bystander that got involved?
I think there's one that's obviously much more. I think there's one that is much more probable than another one in terms of probability of what really occurred. Because they say killed by rebels, meaning a rebel directly affected the death or effectuated the death of her husband. And I get what you're saying with the line, but I read it with the ellipses actually being like a full pause. Then there was a terrorist bombing. And that was it. When you it's hard to read it like that because Viz, uses ellipses for everything that involves more than a breath. But
yeah.
But I mean, like in that, I thought it was dramatic in the sense of like, it was human to basically just say it was a terrorist bombing. Done. You don't really need to go into detail, especially because, and I hate to say this, but Ikumatsu is kind of a minor character. So,
unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately,
very minor.
Well, okay, Mister, you watch your tongue.
But yeah, so that's what happened to her husband, and obviously he is no longer a part of this world. And basically Ikumatsu goes on saying, well, saving the country, they say, ugh. Well, by what? By killing innocent people? They basically just say a bunch of pretty words, but and then they just kind of destroy whatever they want. They're all just a bunch of self-obsessed liars. If they can't help the people right in front of them, what can they do for the country? Loyalist, samurai, it's all crap. So basically, she doesn't have a very good idea or opinion of the rebel terrorists.
As is wont to happen to rebel terrorists.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's normal. But, Katsura is just thinking about this, and then he decides he's going to tell Ikumatsu about what's going on, but she's not around for some reason. But all we have to go off on is a note saying, "Watch the store, I have a delivery to make." And Katsura says, "Oh, she trusts me too much." And then he has a bit of an inner monologue saying, how he can't really stay at the ramen shop. He feels a little responsible for bringing her pain, and, she makes Katsura question himself, which I find a very interesting little bit of character development there. But, as he kind of steps out, and the delivery bike is there, which is weird, because how else is she supposed to make a delivery? On foot? I don't think so. But anyway, yeah, so continue on the next 2 pages for us, Josh.
Well, we get another silent panel. Very, very silent. It's so quiet. And all we see is Elizabeth. She's right there. But it's very, very quiet. And thus we see the Elizabeth in her natural habitat. Hiding amongst the bums. And one of them, offers her a bread crust. Hey, you hungry? And somehow Elizabeth has grown a wig long enough to be ruffled. So it's like it's literally a joke inside the middle of this super tense situation. And I think it's really fun and really good to notice that it's towards the top of the page. I imagine, I can't prove or look this up in any way, but I imagine as I'm reading the jump, this would have been the off page where you turn and the first page you see is Elizabeth, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine that's how it went down. So literally, like, you're reading it and you see, he's looking at the bike, and the next thing is you turn the page and it's Elizabeth. So like a complete, almost like a jump cut, the cutaway joke. And that's literally what it is, a cutaway joke. And it's cute. I love the homeless jokes in Gintama. They're always good. Then we see...
Except, I'm not sure if you noticed this, Josh, but we do see part of the gang, who's carrying off Ikumatsu on the left of that panel on the left.
This is true. It does. You know what? I failed to notice that until you said that. This is true.
So it's really a transitional panel, also.
That's actually a really good point. At first, I thought that was just like some random bald homeless guy setting up like a tatami mat tent or something. I was like, that's kind of fancy for, a peaked tatami mat roof for a poor dude. But then again, I looked and was like, well, this other guy has a house made of beer, so that's cool.
Beer boxes.
I don't know. I think there's beer inside.
Nah, probably. You never know.
It's a house of beer. Like, you go in, you put your snorkel on, and the cardboard just never gets soggy.
Oh my god.
You get a pool full of liquor and you dive in. So being that a transitional panel, we see Ikumatsu is tied up, kind of being tossed around in this little I forget what they call these things.
I think it's called a planikin.
Yeah, the little, basically they're going to throw her into the brothel for some cash. They're going to trade her in. And, basically they justify this as, well, you didn't help us the first time. So yeah, basically we're going to sell you. We're going to now turn you into an object, because that is justice. I mean, like, literally now these guys are irredeemable at every level, And of course we wish them death. And then we get the next panel. It is death. We get a nice picture of Okita, and he's absolutely ready to ask them the same questions as he asked Katsura on his bike. He kind of saying, hey, we're looking for this strange dude. We suspect he's a terrorist. And they're like, well, what do you got in there? Do you have any girly magazines? And then they kind of like pause as he says, quote, do you mind if I look inside? I think that, the expression on their face is because I think that was added for the Viz translation exclusively, because they were shocked at the fact that they were called girly magazines. Because if you look in the original Japanese, it says porn. So I'm pretty sure this wasn't this way in the original Japanese. And again, I can't prove it, I can't prove
Jesus,
it,
Jesus
but I'm pretty
Christ.
sure this is a Viz exclusive visual.
I can't tell if you're making fun of me or Viz or both.
I'm not making fun of you.
But I'm making fun of Viz, Colton.
But I am I'm making fun of this. So essentially, when the oh shit moment and they realize, oh man, we're all out of Sweet 17 magazine. Like, I knew we should have filled this little brothel transporting device full of girly magazines of cosmetic nature with Victoria Justice and Selena Gomez on the cover. I knew we should have done it. I knew we were going to be pulled over by the police, but no, you said no. So, long monologue aside, they decide they're going to do the same thing that Zura did and just up and run, because it's easy to carry a struggling person away from the police, because the police cannot run nearly as fast as two out of shape criminals and a bound woman.
Don't question it, Josh.
I'm not questioning it. I'm just calling the bullshit. But right at that moment, apparently they cannot outrun it, because we get a nice flash of our hero as he comes by.
Oh boy, it's Katsura. Oh boy, it's our hero. And the Shinsengumi are surprised, and our rebel douchebags here, our fake rebel douchebags, find out that who they're dealing with. Apparently Katsura has a bit of a reputation, which I'm not too surprised. They're like, oh, don't tell me it was that Katsura. He's a real rebel fighter. He's Katsura the Unstoppable. We better get the fuck out of here. And Katsura is riding on a bike. A bunch of explosions in the background. It's turning into a Michael Bay movie for some reason.
Damn it, you beat me to the joke.
Ha. I'm assuming the explosions are there because Okita is trying to blast him.
No, he's just trying to make him look cool. It's a very Okita thing to do.
Oh yes, it's a very Okita thing to do, to help people who are in need, especially Hijikata. But yeah, he holds up 2 bowls of rice and says, "Oh, excuse me, I've brought you your dessert," and smashes these bowls of rice into these guys' face as he rides on the bike and knocks him out.
In the Viz, there's plenty of space for the actual Japanese of motherfucker.
Oh my god, Josh!
Your dessert, motherfucker! I'm pretty sure. I can't prove it. Again, I can't prove it, but I'm pretty sure.
Most toxic snark I've ever heard.
It stabs you with a dagger of snarkiness.
Yes.
Dessert, motherfucker.
That's another candidate for an episode title. If Snark were a dagger. Okay, so yeah, we get this cool shot of Katsura standing, his leg just, I was gonna make a stupid joke, but I can't come up with how to word it.
Is that his third leg?
No, I was gonna say, they've been defeated, but that wouldn't really work. But anyway, Katsura goes on and says, "I have 2 things to say to you, motherfucker. One,
whoa! How come I can't and you can?"
1, never claim to be a rebel fighter again. 2, never pass through the curtain of Ikumatsu's ramen shop. If you break either rule, I promise you payment from the hand of Kotaro Katsura. As you get a pretty fucking cool, very serious Katsura panel. Half his face is covered in shadow, and he looks very demonic. He looks like he means serious business. But anyway, please cover the last 2 pages for us, Josh.
So essentially, with that taken care of, when Ikumatsu thought that she was deserted,
were you just trying to make a joke?
No.
Okay, because there was a long pause in there. I was just wondering.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, sure. Leave the jokes to me, please.
Yeah, I'll try that now on. I'm sorry. In-depth analysis time. There is a picture, and there are lots of lines and Viz words. So Katsura's like, "Hey, we kind of, we should get out of here." And Ikumatsu is like, she stops to thank him, like heartfelt thanks him. Then she kind of, I don't want to say confesses, but she reveals another aspect of herself. And I want to actually kind of just read it right off the the page. It says, "You see, I'm just like you, not smart enough to slam the door when someone's in trouble." And she says it in a way where she kind of closes her eyes. She's not showing shame, but she's kind of yet ashamed, if that makes sense. She's not embarrassed, but she's like, this is a problem. But we go to the next page and she smiles and is like, so please don't apologize. Essentially, she's kind of saying, I would have done the same for you. Or she did do the same for him.
And she's saying that because she said in the panel before that, she knew the whole time, implying that she knew that Katsura was a rebel.
Heavily implying, yes. Yep, heavily implying. It puts them on even terms. And the thing is, for the quote-unquote romance, we weren't sure where that stood. Obviously, we could say Katsura had hopes, had an interest, and now we kind of figure out that she does too. And then, Katsura kind of has a little bit of retort. And as he's walking away, they both simultaneously say, thank you. Or if you're reading Shingeki no Kyojin, arigato.
Oh my God, Josh.
So that ends up, we get a nice shot of the sky, kind of a neutral transition. And then we see another a silent panel of Elizabeth, bloodshot eyes. And then we see that digging through the trash can. Again, outside of Daigo Ramen, right as Gintoki is passing by. He's looking at that. He's like, oh, okay, whatever. He's seen Stranger Things, so it's not that big a deal. And Ikumatsu recognizes him and says, oh, hey, how you been? And Gintoki admits to having money, which lets me know that this is actually not continuity. Because Katsura and Ikumatsu are OTP. So I know there's somebody out there saying, no, she's really in love with Gintoki. That's how they know each other. It's like, no, it says right here, he's got money. This isn't real. So he kind of like stares as if he's like staring out the door, kind of. That's a really weird way. I was not happy with how Gintoki was drawn in this particular. His hair feels, I don't know. Am I being nitpicky?
Maybe a little, but I guess I can. His hair feels a little wavier than usual.
It feels like too much.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair, Sorachi probably forgot how to draw the main character.
He does.
After spending so much time drawing Katsura and Ikumatsu. And basically everybody but Gin.
Who's Gin?
Exactly.
So we get a transition after that where we see very specifically Soba. And now I kind of understand why Viz decided to translate all these different the little panels on the wall there. When I say panels, I mean like the plaques. There we go, like little plaques of the pricing. And I see why they decided to do that.
It makes sense.
It makes sense. They still did it poorly. And he asks, hey, when do you serve soba? Or since when do you serve soba? And this may be my favorite panel. And you tell me why, Colton.
Because Ikumatsu is winking at the reader being you. Josh, specifically.
Yeah, yes, specifically. But then again, I kind of said, it's not canon. Gintoki had money in this page, so. But she says, life is full of surprises, isn't it? And the thing is, like, I'm saying, baby, you have no idea.
Okay, so here are 2 points I want to bring up. One, so Sorachi has actually gone on record saying that sometimes Gin has money. Not all the time, sometimes.
Well, yeah, but...
So it's canon, Josh. and 2, so I'm not sure how you'll react to this, Josh, but...
Tell me, Colton.
The ramen shop is actually not called Daigo Ramen.
Oh, boy.
That's why I kind of called attention to the sign earlier, because that's how Viz translated the ramen sign. But did you know, Josh, that the name of the ramen shop is actually referred to as Hokuto Shinken?
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, that's awesome.
For those who don't get the joke, that is a Fist of the North Star joke. That is literally the martial art that the main character uses.
That is awesome. That is awesome. But that kind of makes sense now when we go into the the title of the chapter.
You think so?
Well, what is the main attack for Hokuto no Ken, for Fist of the North Star?
I actually don't remember.
The crack fist, right?
Yeah.
Depending on if it's translated, it's 100 crack fist, 1,000 crack fist, smoking pot, or smoking crack fist.
Smoking pot fist.
Smoking pot fist. That's the attack that Toki uses.
Okay, that was pretty funny. So I guess if you had to kind of sum up your thoughts, I don't know. I guess what do you think about the chapter overall?
I really enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed it because, I have not gotten to the quote unquote serious Gintama. I don't know if that really exists at this point. People keep showing me clips of Gintoki killing people, and I'm just like, nah, it's another show. It's like that they did a really good repainting of Rurouni Kenshin. I kid you not. So I really enjoyed this chapter. Like, I really honestly did. It was dramatic enough that it brought up some topics that I think are pretty obvious. I don't think there's too much of an analysis that needs to go into that. Besides one, I think the chapter really did a good job pointing out the effects of people's choices, and then how to, I mean, in the case of the rebels, but I mean, and the other thing was that really struck me when Ikumatsu said, if you can't help the people in front of you, if you can't change your own life, you have these lofty aspirations of fixing the world. It's like,
Yeah.
that I think we could talk about at length, but it's a personal thing. You have to stop and think, what can Josh do? What can Colton do? What can I do in terms of making the world a better place? I mean, the golden rule exists for this reason. Treat others how you would like to be treated. Because the thing is, you can't treat someone in a way unless you can personally affect them. In this case, it involved taking in a rebel and then that rebel turning around and saving her. Did it solve the problem of Japan's foreigner invasion? No. But did it solve the problem of a woman's heart? Did it make Katsura become a better man? I think so. And it's a small change, but it was a big change for them. Now, I know they don't get married until sometime later in history, but...
Yeah, we have to make that clear. We are talking about the historical figures that Katsura and Ikumatsu's characters in Gintama are based off of.
Right. And I give a big thanks to which handle did she use?
I just refer to her normal handle, Niente Nada.
Yeah, 'cause I know she has two of them. But anyway, big thanks to Nada, because just this morning, or just last night, she found out I was watching the episode. And then she's like, oh, I'm going to rewatch it too. This is going to be, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a great episode. I got all excited because, when I see Gintama fans respond like that as a new Gintama fan, I know I'm in for something good. And then she explained the history of kind of how things went down. I really encourage you guys to go and follow her. Probably one of the smartest Gintama fans, if not the smartest Gintama fan I know.
Well, and I mean, not to downplay everybody else, but she's the one Gintama fan I know that actually really knows the actual historical significance of Gintama very, very well. The actual history of Japan that the show is based off of.
Yes. I mean, she is a wealth of knowledge. I mean, hats off to her. So, but thanks to her for explaining that, it gave me a new appreciation for the chapter. So, I mean, I look at it, it's a love story, but with consequences. The consequences don't necessarily get resolved in this chapter, but, the tools were then presented. And then now, I don't know how much of this is going to be carried over into future Gintama because I haven't gotten there, but it seems like a very strong, very, very strong presence has been made. So now when Ikumatsu comes back, I can freaking say, this is a character who deserves freaking screen time. Not because of her looks, not because of how attracted I am to her, but purely because of the change that she is and how positive her character is on someone like Zura, who can be, honestly, viewed as a villain in the Gintama universe.
Yeah, that's fair.
So, I mean, you don't see that in Yu Yu Hakusho. I mean, Toguro kind of mentions falling in love with Genkai, but
yeah.
I mean, this is in many ways just as dramatic, with the exception of spoilerific deaths. But anyway, I guess my point I'm trying to make is, you don't get other manga treating something like this so smart and so subtly.
Oh yeah, not at all.
So otherwise, it's like, I'm Sakura, Sasuke and Naruto kissed. Read the dojin.
Sasuke, I love you. I love killing people. I love avenging shit. I don't know.
Yes, that shit needs to be avenged. It was flushed mercilessly.
But Sakura, I'm the main character and I love you. Well, even though you're the main character, you're not as cool as this other character who treats me like shit.
That's kind of true, though. Naruto never was as cool as... I'm happy with the Naruto-Hinata pairing. Just get that out there. Like, I'm happy for that. Because, one, I think Sakura and Sasuke make a really cute couple. So, but, I mean, this manga did a really good job of depicting adult relationships without having them become burdensome, as they can so often be as an adult. I appreciated that. Yes, this isn't Shonen Jump. And this is why. Because it's smart enough to be in Shonen Jump. And it has Hakuto Shinken.
Yeah, Gintama sometimes feels, and not to like downplay other Jump properties, because I love Shonen Jump as a whole, but I feel like this is one of the many examples of Gintama being sort of a league above different series in Jump in a way, because it really is the most mature thing anyone could read in Jump, in a good way too. Sometimes in a bad way, but also in a good way. But I want to get to my thoughts on the chapter real quick before we head on to the next thing. So I don't even know where to start. Like, I like Ikumatsu. And I know I'm kind of jumping the gun here, talking about the anime stuff, but I will say, I feel like if I didn't watch the anime episode for this first, I feel like I wouldn't have given her a second glance, because, and again, we'll get to this, in more detail shortly, but I feel like the anime counterpart to this material did a better job of characterizing her altogether. And that's just me. But yeah, with that being said, I feel like if I had only read the manga chapter for this, I feel like I wouldn't be as attached to her as a character. But there is also the fact that she is a big change. She is literally character development incarnate for Katsura. Because I always used to say that that Gintoki was sort of the catalyst for Katsura's change from transforming from a typical rebel who kind of just bombed any place he could think of and not really think twice, to someone who's a little more of a pacifist and actually thinks about how to better his country without sacrificing so many people. I used to think Gintoki was the catalyst for that, but honestly, I'm starting to realize that, I feel like Gintoki probably had a small role to play in that. I feel like Ikumatsu is the start of that, more so. But yeah, I definitely appreciate Ikumatsu. I think if it weren't for just a Gintama podcast and their great Ginta Ladies episodes on specific female characters, I probably wouldn't have seen how great of a character she actually is, honestly. Because the first time I watched this episode of the anime, I didn't really see how good this episode was, and I didn't really see it for what it was. I was just kind of like, well, this is kind of nice, but it's not really that funny. Like, that's me.
Right.
That's 2011 Colton trying to get into Gintama and, watching it because it's funny and not because, oh, the characters are actually pretty good. It took me a while before I really saw that, but, as for the chapter overall, and I'm sure you're gonna have a field day with this one, Josh, but I feel like this is probably the most poorly handled chapter by Viz I think I've seen so far.
Oh, wait, I thought we established that. The Viz is, the only other one so I don't read Viz manga. In fact, I don't really read Gintama, I kind of watch it. So every time I'm on the show is my exposure to Viz. The only thing I can think of that might be technically worse, but has justification for, would be with Hattori. That chapter with the jump when they first introduce him. So. Oh,
you mean with the whole thing from them?
Akamatsu jump versus, yeah.
Just Shonen Jump. Yeah.
I'm not saying that specific part was the worst, but I'm saying that entire chapter is kind of like,
there were some things about that chapter I didn't care for either, but I still feel like this has way more offenders, if you will.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, for me, I think of Gintama as being a distinctly cultural Japanese thing because
Yeah.
you have to have context. I mean, the Roach episode, you have to have context for that. You know,
Yeah.
not that you can't understand the premise, but if you want to get something more than laughs out of it, you have to kind of understand things. And I felt like the cultural integrity of Hattori's episode was stripped away. I think the cultural integrity is still here in this episode of Gintama, or this chapter of Gintama. So, I mean, yeah, overall editing, yeah, I want to know what asshat sat on the toilet trying to get this done.
I mean, I don't know, like, Viz stuff aside, it's funny, because the first time I read this manga chapter, I felt kind of robbed, because I felt like this manga chapter was really extremely bare. Like, we've covered chapters of the manga on the podcast before where where we obviously enjoy the anime counterpart a lot better because we feel like, you know, the anime is a lot better at fleshing certain things out. And, you know, unfortunately, sometimes the manga is very bare comparatively. Not that the manga's bad, but, you know, there are certain things about the anime that really just kind of add to the experience of viewing Gintama. And though I say that, but I don't know, like, recapping it, I think I have a better appreciation for it. Do I like the anime better? I guess spoiler alert, yes. But I still enjoy this chapter, and it's still important for Katsura and Ikumatsu, especially Katsura. And it's still a good story. You know, it'd be a shame if you never got to see the anime counterpart for this particular chapter. But, you know, if you had to go, you know, your whole life without watching the anime episode, you'd be fine. You'd be missing out, but you'd be fine. But, I think that's about all I want to talk about with the manga recap. So, you know, despite our gripes about Viz, the overall product is okay. It's good. It's good for what it is. I would still say support it if you are a real fan and you want to buy this in English. I still say it's better than a lot of the scans online. So go buy Gintama Volume 7 and the rest of the series on Amazon, or if you want, you know, buy it on Right Stuff or something. Right Stuff or Amazon, both work. I prefer Amazon just because I use that more. If you want to purchase it digitally, that is way too bad. You should send a tweet over to Viz Media on Twitter, @VizMedia, and tell them, hey, I want to be able to buy this digitally. You're probably never going to bring it back, but at least put it up on VizManga.com. I want to read it digitally. That would be pretty cool.
Yes, because we all know Gintama is probably just as popular as Case Closed.
Fuck you, Josh. We're gonna go to the next segment. It's a life lesson segment for lesson 55. Ramen shops with long menus never do well. So, Josh, you have anything to say about this one?
My ramen shop has an extremely long menu.
Oh, that's a good answer. I like that one. Okay, so yeah, I didn't know what to think of this chapter title at all, because, I don't know, the thing is with Sorachi, he... I forget where I read this, and I'm sure I mentioned this.
Half the time it means something, the other half it means nothing.
Yeah, and usually the ones that mean nothing are ones that those in particular are thought of by his editors. So, yeah, it's always fun to deal with. But Nada on Twitter comes through again and has schooled me on... that was a weird term to use. Has schooled me on...
Well, at least you didn't say blow.
Well, I'm gonna keep that. Has schooled me on exactly what this title actually means, because basically it's another one of those comments about Japanese life, pop culture, what have you, kind of titles, where it specifically references, you know, the cutthroat nature of, like, these kind of popularity contests that most ramen shops have with each other, because apparently it is very important to be kind of the it place, as she called it, the it ramen place. Apparently either, people are like queuing up like all the way down the street and you have like there's just these giant lines of people, or you have like nobody at all, is apparently how most ramen shops go in terms of its customers. And apparently, like, if you go to Japan, tour guides will tell you that's how you pick which ramen shop to eat at, and that's how you can tell the ramen's good, which, I guess that goes without saying. And so it's funny, taking all that into consideration, it's funny considering, that's what Ikumatsu is trying to do. She wants Hokuto Shiken to be the best ramen shop around, while Katsura is all like, oh, well, why don't you add soba to the menu? Which is kind of the opposite of it's kind of the opposite of the kind of advice that you'd really give a ramen place, that's, trying to
Toyota should sell Hondas.
Exactly. Like, basically, most ramen shops, they want to find, that one dish that everyone's going to want. They want to find that top dish, and stick to that, basically. So, yeah, that's... I try not to read off all of Nada's tweets, but I mean, it's professional. I need to get her on the show at some point. I will get her on the show. And she will be the best guest I've ever had. Except for you, Josh.
Well, no, she will probably... No, I'll be full disclosure. She's much more apt to be a guest on the show than I am in so many ways. I did not think of that when I was looking at the title.
Yeah, me neither.
I was thinking in terms of, I was trying to apply it. I figured, okay, there's a title. How can I apply this to what happens in the manga? Well, we only see one actual, there are 3 total items mentioned, and technically you can go 4 and 5, but there are very few items on the menu that are actually listed or mentioned in this chapter. The first being rice. That's the only one we actually see, and that one is the one that saves the day.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, in that sense, if it's just the rice, and that's all we need to save the day, then yeah, whichever ramen shop has the smallest menu wins. Right?
Yeah.
That's all we need is to save the day. The flip side is also she added soba. And the thing is, I guess it's like, in a way that I cannot articulate in any grace, I would say, by adding the soba, she's kind of added Katsura to her heart, because the thing that's really important to her is her shop. She's now added a kind of a piece of Katsura's identity to the shop. At the same time, she, the longer the shop... Or the longer the shop.
Yeah, the longer the shop.
Yeah, they need a big old long shop. My shop is longer than yours, and they can piss farther too.
Oh my god.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could I not say that?
No, that's fine. I just thought it was funny.
Oh, I thought it was funny too. That's why I said it. But essentially, the shorter the menu, the more important the items become. And so Ikumatsu mentions, what's the use in trying to dream big if you can't effectuate what's already in front of your face? Does it tie in? I don't know. But thematically, we can look at that and say, well, obviously the ramen shop and now Katsura are very important to her versus the 15 million other things. You know what I'm saying? When we looked at the rebels, the fake rebel douchebags.
Yeah.
Fake rebel, real douchebags. They're not important. They have too many things they're thinking about. They're ripping off people left and right. They don't have one strict goal, but their goal is so vast that they can't really effectuate anything from that. I don't know if that, if you think of if you think of every person being a ramen shop, a simple menu is going to be the one that's going to be important. They're going to hold the most weight. So that was my thought when it came to the chapter. Again, no proof, no validity, just, hey, this is what came to Josh's mind as he was thinking about it. Because it takes me some time to really, what does this mean? It's not like it comes to me instantly, there we go, I understand Gintama, the world is at peace. Only Nada has that ability, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I'm sure. I wish I had that problem, because that would make this segment so much easier to do.
So, officially, what it means is that Gintama is anti-ramen shop. Gintama doesn't believe in ramen, but believes in soba. It says so very clearly. But then again, this is not to be taken in context because Gintoki has money.
So, does the chapter title make sense?
I don't know. I mean, sure. I mean, I'm guessing. I don't know what it means. I mean, in terms of like what Nada said, yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's kind of a Japaneseism. Does it like directly tie in? I don't think it ties in nearly as much as like the Bells, the one with the Shonen Jump we did.
Oh, yeah.
Or nearly as much as the cockroach one. Actually, I think the cockroach one tied in pretty well. So I think out of the three that I've looked at, this one ties in loosely. But yeah, I definitely think it makes sense. Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, I think it makes sense in terms of in terms of like the cultural aspect of it. I feel like not so much with the story at hand, but that's just me personally. And I think that's really about it. So, you guys have any thoughts on these and other life lessons? You can send those over to gintalifelessons@gmail.com. We'd like to hear your thoughts on some of these if you have them. So yeah, let's go to the next thing. This is the anime manga comparison segment for episode 30.
We compare the manga to the anime.
Yes, thank you for stealing my thunder. Of episode 39 of the anime. This episode has some filler material in there that kind of adds to the episode. In what way? Find out at the end of the segment. And now I just imagine people like skipping to the end and like, oh, that's what they think.
Next time at Dragon Ball Z. Okay, whatever that means.
Yeah, because this is Dragon Ball. So yeah, I guess I'm just gonna kind of go over both filler material and just kind of pick up on the little details I liked about the anime along the way, kind of zigzag back and forth there. So first things first, I thought Katsura's Santa Claus line in the anime was pretty funny. It's also funny because of reasons later. That's kind of his mimicking voice. It sounds like Mickey Mouse, and I love it. It's funny because he actually does mimic Mickey Mouse later. It's pretty funny.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, the biggest detail I really like about the anime episode is I like the little touch where at first you don't see Ikumatsu crying during when she's kind of confronting her old douchebag spouse.
Well, he's not the spouse. He's the spouse's brother-in-law.
Spouse's, yeah, thank you. I meant relative, I guess. Would that be the right word?
Yeah, I think that I mean, it's brother-in-law. I mean, it's not a blood relative, but is a relative by the laws of the land that govern Japan.
Okay, there you go. Whoever that guy is, but as she's confronting, the douchebag, I like how at first you don't see her crying, but the faucet, we get a shot of her sink and faucet that I think does a really good job presenting her crying. Obviously, it's what do you call it, Josh? Would you call this an example of a theater of the mind, or am I using that right?
I don't know. Like, I mean, you're making fun of me, bitch.
No. I just love how you're just like, I don't know. Sure, I guess.
Well, no. Like, I hate. See, I don't want to sound like I know things. Like, I hate it because like I fuck.
No, I brought that up because I like that. Because that was something you brought up a lot during your first appearance on here, which I really liked that term that you used.
Well, the theater of the mind like really refers to you having to do the rest. You know what I'm saying? Like when, for example, I was watching Haikyuu, and there was a shot where they just look at the ceiling. And then you kind of have to assume that the players are going back to the court because you can kind of hear stuff, that sort of thing.
Okay.
I suggest listening to the first episode I was on to kind of get a more clear view of what I think of that. I wouldn't so much say it's theater of the mind, although it definitely is. I would call it kind of like a euphemism.
Okay.
Kind of as it is a stand-in for something else. It directly corresponds to something else. I mean, yes, you are supposed to link two and two together, but for me, like theater of the mind is more something like in Batman: The Dark Knight when Joker breaks the pool cue, tosses it on the floor, and says, I'll be back in 30 minutes sort of thing, or he's, offhandedly basically says, he implies that there are three dudes, they're two pieces of a pool cue, and only one guy can live. You, in the theater of the mind, play it out. Does it matter who wins? No, but you're quickly doing the math. Three dudes, two pool cues, one guy survives. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
They didn't need to show you the fight. But the flip side is, in Haikyuu, they don't need to show you the players going to the court. In this case, they don't need to show her crying. They show something else that's very similar, and we can take a simile of a tear and a single drop from the faucet. I guess maybe like a euphemism, because like they do this in theater and film a lot. I'll use another example from Haikyuu because I'm watching that recently. When they use something like crows. The team's name is based off the crow. So when they show a crow, we understand it is to mean the team, or it is to mean X. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, Colton. I guess what I'm getting at is it is, but I would more specifically designate it as like a euphemism. It's a stand-in. It's something that is supposed to imply something else. So
makes sense. I
not the negative connotation of euphemism, because I don't think there's obviously anything explicit about it. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, unlike normally, because it is Gintama.
That faucet was a penis.
Yes, exactly.
My penis cried a single tear.
So, just to kind of keep going here, another moment I really liked from the anime was the first moment where we see Elizabeth trying to dress him or herself up as Katsura, and in order to try to find somebody who might have seen Katsura, because obviously Katsura is missing, or at least to Elizabeth he is, but this moment in the manga was sort of a. Well, it wasn't really much of anything. It was just, Elizabeth's looking for Katsura. Sure, that's what Elizabeth's doing. But in the anime, it's even funnier, because the guy who in the manga is like, oh, dream on, nobody looks like that. In the anime, comes up to Elizabeth, pulls off the wig like an asshole, and Elizabeth, rightfully so, melts his face off with eye lasers.
Yeah, well, I also want to say in the anime he says blow.
Shut the fuck up. So, if we haven't said it before on the podcast, you don't fuck with Saigo and you don't fuck with Elizabeth. Those are the two characters you do not fuck with. Out of everybody. So that's your life lesson for you. But anyway, yeah, it's probably one of the funniest moments in the anime.
Life lessons: do not fuck with things you don't understand.
Exactly.
And no one understands Elizabeth.
Exactly. So, basically, after the whole scene where Katsura, does something to the fried rice and makes the three stooges here want to take a shit, Ikumatsu is obviously...
No, it's not the three stooges at that point. It's the three stoolges.
Ha!
Ha!
So anyway, Ikumatsu's impressed, and, she's impressed with how Katsura basically handled that asshole. And, decides to let him stay until his injuries are healed.
Wait. Asshole? Stoolges?
Decides to, let him stay. I'm just gonna ignore that, Josh. Stay, let's... See, now I can't talk. Decides to let him stay until his injuries are healed, but, she's gonna put him to work. And, we get all this cool, anime fillery type stuff where Ikumatsu tries to show Katsura how to make ramen. But this ramen is the pot, I guess, is filled with all kinds of things. I'm pretty sure you don't try to cook in ramen like tadpoles, frogs, fish. I'm assuming rotten fruit and vegetables, and there are some Justaways in there, which, sure, they're just kind of everywhere at this point.
It's for the spicy ramen. There you go.
And, Ikumatsu, while she's trying to show Katsura how to make ramen, Katsura's obviously like, there are certainly things I'm sure people will be glad that they never saw, which doesn't make Ikumatsu happy. Ikumatsu also has a knife, so you never want to make a woman angry while she holds a knife. Anyway. There's also another little bit I like where, the three stoolges, I guess, are also trying to spy on...
That's my joke.
Are also trying to spy on Ikumatsu and Katsura when Katsura catches them, and one of them spits in his face in, surprise, and they all run away. I just thought that was kind of silly. And then afterwards, Ikumatsu tries to have Katsura make a few deliveries, But, because he's a terrorist, he fakes a stomach ache because, the Shinsengumi are still out looking for him. And Ikumatsu's like, are you like a kid who doesn't want to go to the dentist? Like, can you please just do your job that I hired you for, please? And, there's just a bunch of cute moments like, Ikumatsu tending to Katsura's wounds and Katsura lying in a futon, and his futon just happens to be positioned in a way where he can peek into Ikumatsu's room while she's partially clothed and is brushing her hair.
Oh, yeah. I almost forgot about that scene until you mentioned it. Yeah, and I even tweeted about it, too. Like, holy shit, that's a freaking fan fiction grab if I've ever seen.
Yeah, that is a tease.
Well, I mean, yes. I mean, she's... So here's my thing, okay? Josh Tangent time. You ready?
Sure, yes.
I hated this anime episode for the fact that I did not feel like they made Ikumatsu pretty. Like, she looks like freaking Tsunade.
Kind of, yeah, I can see that.
I mean, not exclusive, like, oh, it's Tsunade. But I mean, like, in the manga, she was beautiful. In the anime, it's like, I understand, Gintama anime had 3 pennies per budget, per episode.
God damn it, Josh!
I get that. Laugh at my own joke.
Yeah, so now who's the asshole?
I'll never lie about being an asshole. That's a lie. But the point is, she wasn't nearly as pretty in the anime as she was in the manga. She was beautiful in the manga. And, the character traits come through, but me being a shallow man still wanted to see a really attractive female who has a strong character in an important role. And it kind of felt like, damn it, Gintama, you did it to me again.
See, to me personally, I actually thought her character design was a little better looking in the anime. I actually have the opposite opinion.
Well, guys, it's been fun knowing you. I can no longer be on the show. As an Ikumatsu purist, I just want to say thank you for the time, Colton.
Oh, Ikumatsu purist, my asshole! You just watch.
Whoa! You do not use Ikumatsu, an asshole, in the same sentence unless you say I was lucky enough.
Oh my god, Josh. I was gonna say, yeah, some purist you are. You just watched the episode yesterday. You
Of course I watched it yesterday. So, oh geez, your opinion's not valid because you saw it newer than me.
Totally, yeah. That's what I'm totally trying to say.
Is that episode fresh in your mind? Fuck you.
But anyway, so what I meant earlier by its teasing at its finest is that, if you didn't already want Katsura and Ikumatsu to be together enough, this is just like, hey guys, look at this up. Now, we gave you something. Gave you hope. This moment is also the moment where Katsura thinks to himself, oh, she trusts me too much. So that's a thing. And, we even have a little, anime-only moment where Hijikata and Okita are basically discussing their search for Katsura over Dango, which, that sounds pretty good right about now.
Actually, yeah, I'm getting hungry, too. Not for mayonnaise, though. Hell fucking no.
Oh, yeah. Okita apparently knows that he's injured, which, sure, I guess. I mean,
well, there was blood on the...
Yeah, he was on the ground, actually, before
he was on the ground, and that was an anime-exclusive moment, too, which I was kind of disappointed on, because we missed that 3-split panel that I love so much. I was talking about for 45 hours in the beginning of the show.
For at least, half the manga recap.
Half the manga recap was involved in one fucking page. I'm so sorry, but I'm not.
But Okita knows he's injured, and Hijikata comments on, how hard he's working and all that stuff, and then Okita's like, oh, well, it's amazing how, basically it's amazing how Hijikata's eating dango with mayonnaise on it, which is gross. And then Hijikata reminds Okita to not let his guard down, which leads to the punchline of Okita leaving a bomb straw doll near Hijikata, blowing him up in the dango shop, which, by the way, thanks Okita for blowing up a business. That's kind of a dick move.
Well, now it's one shop easier to be the best ramen shop in Japan.
Except it's a dango shop, so whatever. But
well, it could have been a dango shop with a really big menu. It could have been a ramen shop with a really long menu.
That's true, so maybe he's inadvertently helping Ikumatsu. But, it basically leads to the punchline of Okita being like, oh, you better not watch your back, Hijikata, because, yeah. I thought it was pretty funny.
Hijikata always has to watch his back with Okita.
Oh, yeah.
That's the joke.
Oh, yeah, totally. there's no other context in there at all. So the three assholes,
Wait, Yaoi?
Yes, Josh, thank you. That was the joke. So the three assholes, we see them try to come up with a plan to, basically get around Katsura, and they also, there's this moment where they hide from, two random Shinsengumi members who are still out looking for Katsura. I like this moment because, first off, their idea of hiding is to turn around and, face another building, which is, sure, that's the best hiding plan.
Don't move. Their vision's based on movement.
But obviously the Shinsengumi members just walk right by them, furthering the point that, these three guys don't mean shit. And I really like that. But, after that, Ikumatsu treats Katsura to some food and sake, and Katsura says that her ramen is missing something, which Ikumatsu agrees. And Katsura's like, well, why don't you just add what's missing? But she's like, well, that's easier said than done, sir. But Katsura says that, if that's the case, he has nothing more to say. But you know what they do say? Ignorance is bliss. Which Ikumatsu comments, one, that has nothing to do with what's going on here whatsoever, and two, I thought you didn't have anything else to say. Because, she already knows all this. And, Katsura ends up coming up with, just basically a bunch of figures of speech that don't really work at all, but, she knows what what Katsura is trying to say, and what he's trying to say is, she obviously just can't leave things the way they are. And this moment where Ikumatsu and Katsura, where Ikumatsu starts to open up to Katsura is really great because there's a bit of silence, right beforehand. And, I also like the little detail of Katsura kind of trying to, he's about to get a word in edgewise until Ikumatsu interrupts him and starts, spouting off her backstory, basically. I like the way the scene was handled. I don't know about you, Josh.
Yeah, it was a fair representation of what happened in the manga. I'm really good, again, glad I read the manga beforehand. Yeah, it was fair. I don't have major complaints with it. I mean, it wasn't Viz translated, so.
Really? Because I thought this was actually a lot better handled than the anime.
I kind of the manga you can read at your own pace and kind of absorb something. I can stick on a panel for as long as I want.
True. But see, I don't know, what I like about how this moment was handled was that there is a lot of it feels more natural. I like how Katsura and Ikumatsu have their little banter to kind of naturally transition into the more serious discussion of how her husband died and was murdered, essentially.
Well, I like that that stark contrast right after the real douchebags fake rebels, right after they have to go shit themselves. I like that sharp contrast, and she just kind of goes into it, as well as I thought there was a very cool in the manga where it's like, hey, you should think about men again, and then it's a transition right into Katsura's memory. She thinks she says my husband, and then you get that specific panel. You don't really get that in the anime. I mean, there's a very, very strong hinting as to I guess you could call it foreshadowing. That was lacking in the anime, if you get what I'm saying. But then again, it's not like the anime has the foresight. I mean, granted, these are historical figures, quote unquote, but it's just, it's Gintama. Anything could change at any moment.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't fault the anime for what it did. It's the anime. But the manga, at the same time, I felt was much stronger in this case. I'm not trying to crap on the episode, but I honestly enjoyed the manga a bit more.
You say you don't fault it, oh yeah, it's the anime, whatever, but like I said, I felt like this moment was a lot stronger in the anime just because the thing is, I can count maybe on one hand how many real, quiet moments we get in Gintama in a series that's very catastrophic. Something is always going on. Something is always going to shit. Essentially something's always happening, and there's never a dull moment, basically. Everything's always loud and disruptive, which,
Nabe Shogun.
Exactly. Which, that's just the show, and I'm not saying I'm faulting it for it, I'm just saying that's how the show is. So it's nice to get a break from all that, to get a actual, real, not super serious, but real mature kind of I say mature conversation, but it's still witty banter. But you know what I mean? Like it feels like it feels like a natural conversation that naturally leads into Ikumatsu feeling like she can open up to Katsura.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see that.
So that's kind of where the kind of anime filler kind of ends, and the episode plays from there. It's funny. I saw this listed on the Gintama wiki of all places. Which, if you want your top notch Gintama information superhighway, you want to go to the Gintama wiki. It's about as nicely written as the Viz translation, as Josh would probably say.
Well, where do you think all those guys went when they were unemployed?
Oh my god. Well, that's the continuity for you. So, it's funny because Katsura unties Ikumatsu in the anime and actually helps set her free, whereas in the manga, Katsura just kind of leaves her tied up.
What?
I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, but it's like the cops are right there and he has to get away. So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to leave you tied up. It's like, I saved you. We share a moment. I have to go.
I mean, yeah, that's a good point. I thought of that too. Like, I mean, that's a funny little thing that I find kind of humorous.
But using it to be a douchebag.
Well, yeah, I know. I didn't say that.
Woman. Now stay where you are. Stay. Oh, you're tied up. Never mind.
That sounds like something Katsura would say. But no, yeah. I get what you're saying. I thought the same thing too. Like, Okita's an asshole. Like, he's a major asshole, but he's not gonna toy. Well, I say that, but more often than not, he doesn't usually toy with the civilians, especially hostages. He's gonna untie Ikumatsu because she's just a civilian. So at least a cop is there to help her, but still, again, I just thought it was kind of funny. So Josh, if we haven't already made our opinions clear enough earlier before this segment and completely given it away,
Gintama.
I was just going to ask you what you thought about the episode, but I mean, since you hate all the Gintama, I mean, I guess
all of it.
All of it, okay.
All of it. My favorite episode was when they went to the Soul Society.
So do you like the anime or manga more this time?
This time.
Yes,
manga. Manga for sure. Just on the pure aesthetic of my shallow heart of Ikumatsu. I'm sorry. Like, I'm absolutely in love with her. And in the manga, she is graceful. She is on a level I can't even begin to reach. And in the anime, she is Tsunade. So, went from insert foul gesture here. I don't know. Go for it.
Well, okay. I'm really surprised. I really thought you would have liked the anime over the manga this time.
Nah, the manga was just aesthetically superior, not just on Ikumatsu's behalf. I'm saying, like, that one panel I love so much is not in there. It's like they didn't translate that anime wise, and it's not like the anime is bad. It's just, I mean, like, it had some jokes in there that were much better than the manga, but I felt this needed to be kind of a quiet, dramatic moment in Gintama. And it was in the manga. It was kind of a little bit more uppity in the anime. And so thus I prefer the manga. But, I mean, if I could take the jokes from the anime and put it in the manga, I would have been much happier. But
well, man, we have differing opinions on the anime versus manga debate on the podcast. That's not something that's happened for a while, because I like the anime for this one a lot better. Because I feel like a lot of the anime-only material really fleshes out Ikumatsu a lot better. Like, I mean, a lot better. We actually get to spend more time with her, and we get to see her interact more with Katsura, and you really kind of, me personally at least, I feel more for their relationship, and I want to see more of them. That's what I was missing from the manga, is that, when I read the manga, I didn't feel like I wanted to see more. When I watched the anime, upon at least like my second time viewing the anime episode, I feel like I really wanted to see more of them. I wanted to see more of them interact. And again, like I said, I thought the anime episode was quiet enough. Like, I think this is probably Katsura's most mature moment mature episode in the entire show. And, mature Katsura is not something that we get very often. We get that every once in a blue moon. So yeah, like, I feel like the anime just kind of made Ikumatsu not necessarily a better character, but a more enjoyable, more interesting one. especially when it comes to her relationship with Katsura.
I kind of like the mystique a little bit more in the manga. That's all.
Makes sense.
Sometimes not knowing and kind of being able to... I mean, I just don't feel like there's a ton of information, one, that was presented new in the anime. Enough of it to be warranted is better. And I like the tone much better in the manga, so...
All right, well, as long as we can agree that your opinion's wrong because I'm the host. So, guys, if you want to watch this episode and the rest of the series, you can do so on Crunchyroll either for free or for $6.95 a month in HD and commercial free, along with...
But you really can't watch Gintama in HD because it wasn't fucking produced in HD.
Well, look, shut up, Josh. It's in 480p, and that's enough, I guess. You can still watch it. You can still watch it commercial free. That's always good. And
it's true. What you're really paying for is the commercials. You're literally, instead of watching the commercials, you're buying whatever the commercial purchased beforehand.
Josh, you are ruining my pitch for Crunchyroll. Stop it.
No. Crunchyroll. For about $7 a month, you cannot be bothered while you watch your shows. You are promised a much better quality than you can actually ascertain, but Crunchyroll is still a great... No, in all seriousness, Crunchyroll is a great value on the fact of getting rid of the pesky, and sometimes, quite frankly, dumb commercials that we have to inject into our brains. I highly recommend it on the fact of, if you want to support Gintama, this is one of the best ways to do it.
Yeah, I mean, Gintama is a Crunchyroll exclusive, so... if you, especially with the new season running right now, you want to watch the new season of Gintama, same day and date as Japan. The only place you could do that is with the Crunchyroll subscription. Otherwise, if you're not a subscriber, there's a bit of a week delay, which, you know what, is perfectly understandable. But yeah, you should go do that. And you can also buy this episode on DVD via Gintama Collection 3 from Sentai Filmworks. Those are not out of print yet, from what I understand. So, you can find them via Right Stuff or on Amazon. So, go buy those if you want to actually own it. You can also watch this episode on TV. Yeah, Gintama's on TV.
Gintama is on TV. Dubbed.
Shut up, Josh. It's not dubbed. The promo for it was dubbed.
No, I'm pretty sure the entirety is dubbed. Like all of Gintama. Like every single episode.
Josh.
Even the manga is dubbed.
Oh, yes. I love them fan dubs of the manga. So, yeah, but no, seriously, guys, Gintama's on TV. Unless you don't have Shorts HD, then it's not on TV. But, if you have DirecTV or AT&T Uverse, you have the ability to buy that channel if you can and or want to.
Or if you sell your soul to Satan.
Or, yes, you could do that.
But, if you're watching Gintama, chances are you don't have a soul.
Wow, Josh, that's harsh.
It is harsh, but you know what? I sold my soul, not to Gintama, but, I watch Gintama, and I laugh at the dick jokes. I don't have a soul.
Anyway, so, yeah, Shorts HD so far has the rights to the first 49 episodes, and is airing all those episodes subtitled, not dubbed. I repeat, there is no English dub for Gintama on this channel. So, yeah, if you have Shorts HD... Go watch it if you want to. It's pretty cool watching Gintama on TV. You can catch it on Shorts HD at 6 a.m. or 2 p.m. Those are some weird times, but sure, whatever. Go record it. Go something.
Weird times. Toonami gives Gintama a better time slot.
Oh my god. So yeah, those are all the ways you can watch Gintama.
Or you can just get a Crunchyroll subscription and then stream it to your TV, which is actually a much more viable option.
Yeah. I mean, God, Crunchyroll has they have apps on the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4,
they have apps
Wii.
on every mobile device, every gaming device, every media device. I mean, if you can stream, Crunchy has an app for it. And Crunchy's a great company. I've not had any problems with them.
No, yeah, they're pretty cool. So enough of our shilling. Let's That's going to be the end of the show, guys. We covered Chapter 55 of the manga. We had a Life Lesson segment and Anime Manga Comparison segment on Episode 39 of the anime. And I had my special guest and good friend Josh Dunham on the show. Josh, thank you for coming on the show again. It's always nice to have you on.
Dude, it's always a pleasure. I really enjoy being on the show. I actually really enjoy talking about Gintama. It's really fun.
That's good, because I'm hopefully gonna have you on the next episode. Yay! Don't worry, Josh. It'll only be like another month. Well, we're not gonna record it too soon. We're gonna give you a break, give you time to absorb all that Gintama goodness.
Time for another 10-episode binge.
Yeah, exactly. So, Josh, where can people find you, guys? Guys, yes. Apparently, you were more
Josh and John.
Yes, Josh and John.
We're both here.
Where can people find you?
No, you can find me, Josh, us, Josh. It's not John. It's just Josh.
Josh Janai Katsura.
No, John Janai Joshida.
I'm sorry. Please just go on.
Shingeki no Kyojin. God damn it. I don't even know if that's the right name anymore. Essentially, you can find me on the best damn anime podcast ever, Senpai Coast to Coast, at WordPress.com. But essentially, no, it's not really at WordPress.com, because that would be an email. But you can get me on senpaicoasttocoast.wordpress.com. You can find me on Twitter, Josh_Dunham. I'm pretty noisy. I'm always talking to Colton. I've been tweeting about Gintama recently because, I watched it once. We did an awesome tribute, if you guys have not already listened to it, to One Punch Man and My Hero Academia, that you can definitely find online at senpaicoasttocoast.wordpress.com.
Yes, please do that. We worked really hard on that.
We did.
Please go listen to that. That was literally a labor of love.
That was a lovely labor. I mean, it was a pain, but dude, we had so much fun making that. And of course, so much fun talking about One Punch Man and My Hero Academia.
Yeah.
So
very, very proud of that podcast. So please go listen to that.
But yeah, find me on Twitter, find me on my website. It'd be great. I love to talk to people, so talk to me. And yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. As for me, you can find me on Twitter. That's at SniperKing323. That's SNIPERKING323. I talk to Josh a lot too. I talk about a lot of things. I kind of just post whatever comes to mind. Within the limits of 140 characters or less, obviously. So yeah, follow me. I'm a pretty friendly guy. I like talking to new people, especially if you're a Gintama fan. Then I will probably latch on to you like there's no tomorrow, and that sounds weird. Okay, so so go listen to the Manga Corner at anime3000.com. Just doing stuff for that, I guess. That's usually what a podcast involves, doing stuff. But you can also find me on Heavenly Kings at heavenlykings.wordpress.com. I talk about Toriko there. You can also find me at One Podcast Prevails at onepodcastprevails.wordpress.com. I talk about Detective Conan there. As for the website, you can find us at gintalifelessons.wordpress.com. You can also listen to us on Stitcher or the Stitcher Smart Radio app. It's a cool thing. You can also listen to us on Player FM, along with a bunch of other podcasts that are on there. I hear people listen to podcasts on those things. So you can also follow us on Facebook.com, Twitter.com, and YouTube.com/GintaMangaCast. That's GintaMangacast, GintaMangacast. You can also follow us on GintaMangacast.tumblr.com. And you can also email us anything about Gintama. You can email us anything about Gintama, the podcast, why you either hate or like Josh so much, why you hate me so much, at gintalifelessons@gmail.com. Please send us an email or two. We'll gladly read it on the show. You can also leave us feedback on our threads in the Gintama subreddit whenever I put them up at reddit.com/r/Gintama. But the most important thing, guys, is that you subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes. That gives us some kind of chance of raising up in the iTunes podcast ranks, which will probably never ever happen. But I'm just letting you know. That's the purpose of all that. You're not just leaving us nice comments. Maybe we can get popular. I doubt it. Again, that'll never happen, but I hope it will. But anyway, that's about it. Thank you, Josh Dunham, for coming on the show. I'm not going to make any promises, because apparently every time I make promises about the next episode, they just won't fucking come true. But maybe we'll have Josh on...
then you're like Gintama.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe we'll have Josh on the next episode. I don't know yet. We'll just have to see what happens. That's the plan. But I'm sure that plan will get fucked up 3 times, just like the recording of this episode. So from all of us here at Life Lessons, meaning just me, I'm Colton. This has been episode 40. This has been episode 40 of the podcast. We'll see you guys next time for episode 41. Bye, guys.
Oh, wait, I'm on. You have to add 1 to it. So it's been episode 51, and thank you for listening. Goodbye now.
All right, you're right. Goodbye.
Okay, what's this kid's name? I forget. Hijikata? No, it's not Hijikata. It's Hold on a second. Okita. Yeah, the kid's name's Okita. That's the crazy dude. Okay.
I thought you were gonna say suicidal something.
Not suicidal, but the
yes. Okita is suicidal. That's his whole character trait.
Yes, that's the only character trait. Okay, it's Okita, and then see, like, I keep wanting to say Hachikuji. That's not it. Damn it.
Who are you talking about?
Hijikata. No, never mind. Anyway,
okay.
Okita. Okay.
Yeah. Actually, you'd be surprised. You'll get to learn more about Okita shortly after Benizakura. So you'll learn more about him.
That's my Gintama goal, folks. Is to 1, learn the names of the characters beyond their faces, and 2, to actually learn, get to the Benizakura. That's my goal in life.
If you can get up to Benizakura, but even if you decide, you know what, Colton, Gintama sucks and I don't want to watch it anymore, I'd be totally fine with that, because at least you got up to Benizakura.
Josh, if you ate 3 cow turds and then you decided you never wanted to suck on a cow anus ever again, I could accept that, because at least I know there are 3 cow turd babies inside your stomach. That's the equivalent of, like, you have to watch half the show in order to enjoy it. Like, hey, by the way, the soup stops poisoning you after you finish half of it. Oh, well, great. That's awesome. Can I get a bigger spoon? I mean, like, what type of argument is that?
That's every argument I make, Josh.
Just cow turds and poison soup. Like, yes, Colton, I hate Gintama. No, I mean, like, if I told you off the mic and on the mic, and hopefully those jokes are in there, because I love your reaction. It's making me laugh.
Oh God.
Like, Gintama's like one of the smartest shows I've ever seen.
All right.
Just simply on satire. So
okay.
You know I'm going to keep watching it. But the thing is, like, this podcast is what drives me to keep watching. So
are you saying I have to have you on every episode in order to get you to your final goal? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, you just have to have me on enough in front that it's like, Josh, watch these next 10 episodes. It's like, Josh is like, okay. Josh watches them, comes back, and it's like, so in my professional opinion, when it comes to Gintama, this is clearly a reference to the Edo period when rice was technically priced incorrectly based on a period of which rice was not as plentiful. So thus this led to a natural inflation, leading to samurai being very disgruntled with their particular wages, because their wages were going down despite actually not going down. And so thus, yes, Gintama is yes.
Gintama is yes. That is the best review I've ever heard for the show.
Gintama is yes. I mean, if you look at the cultural analysis of a penis, you realize that Gintama is actually the visual form of the song Detachable Penis.
Oh boy. That's okay. Well, that's the end of this thing, everybody.
We find her name is Ikumatsu, and we find her in a ponytail, and I was like, oh good lord, my heart.
Were you getting the vapors?
I don't even know what that means.
I'm sorry, Josh, go on.
Okay.
Ignore me, I'm only the host.
Okay. So back to my podcast.
Yes, back to Josh's podcast. Senpai Coast to Coast.
So Amonto Galactic Cast.
There you go. Okay, there you go.
Amonto, I don't know. I give up. Okay, let's just go back to
Amonto Uchujin podcast.
Yes, Shingeki no Kyojin. So what happens is that's an off mic joke. I'm sorry.
You know, and they just kind of destroy whatever they want. They're all just a bunch of self-obsessed liars. You know, if they can't help people, if they can't help edit that out, Colton.
They can't help the fuck.
Yes, if they can't help the fuck.
Like, you gotta get behind and push.
That's pretty funny. Okay. What I meant earlier by its teasing at its finest is that, you know, if you didn't already want Katsura and Ikumatsu to be together enough, this is just like, hey guys, look at this up. Now, we gave you something. Gave you hope.
Gave me hope. Gave me a boner.
I'm keeping that in, Josh.
Of course you're keeping that in. Keep the boner in there. But the point is, the longer the list of my boner... So now, how'd it go? Not the list of my boner. That's not the name of the title. What was it?
Oh my god, Josh.
Fucking what was the name of the title? Colton, you messed it up too. Look it up again for me.
Oh, the title of the chapter?
Yeah.
Ramen shops with long menus never do well.
Yes, the longer my menu, the more you like my ramen shop.
Jesus Christ, Josh. Alright, well, as long as we can agree that your opinion's wrong because I'm the host. So anyway, guys, if you...
Another stupid Shinpachi moment.
If you guys wanna, you know, if you want, you can, well, I fucked the intro on that. You guys can watch this...
Remember, you have to push from behind, Colton.
Shut up, Josh.
Konbanwa, Santa Claus da yo.